Welcome in to week 14. We've made it. Well, I guess almost the end of week 14. We'll see. We have one game. I guess the real question is, do you think tonight's going to be a fun game, or do you think it's just going to be trash?
Two bad defenses.
Yes.
So, I mean, I hope it's entertaining and high scoring, which it could be. It could be. But it's two teams that aren't going anywhere. So, fantasy side, I think it can be good. Real football, it's probably not going to be great to watch.
Yeah, this game will wrap up week 14 in a very odd bow. It was a weird one this week. So we'll see. Guess what? No longer any buys. We've come this far. We've made it. Now we're just determining who's actually going to be playing and what they're playing for.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, unless you're a 49ers running back, and then basically every week is a buy.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
bad.
You're put under so much pressure to perform and get all that work, and all of a sudden you're just in trouble again. So I just feel like they have the worst luck.
Yeah, this happened to him a couple of years ago, right? With the running backs just all being knocked out, and I don't know. It's strange, but it sucks if you play in a fab system. You probably spent all your fab on Garendo, and hopefully, it's just a week, right? Because it's a short week for him.
He's back. He could play.
Yeah, short week. So I just kind of assume he's going to miss this week. So hopefully it's just this one, and you can advance and use him later on because he looked good. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is also like one of the last weeks where it's a normal schedule too, because like the week 16.
Yeah, we start getting into Saturdays and stuff.
Yeah,
and weird.
It becomes very messy moving forward on when you're playing. So things to keep in mind, but I know that's not what you're here for. Just figured I'd get all that stuff out of the way. If you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe. Really appreciate you sticking around. And if you're here, more than likely, you've made the playoffs. Congratulations. Don't know if you'll actually need any of these players, but we're going to keep updating you the best we can. So start off with quarterbacks. Shouldn't be any surprise. I'm going back. Get Jameis to Winston, 23.1% rostered. Gets to play the Chiefs. Since a bye, he's quarterback 4. He played the Steelers twice. He's averaging 23.6 fantasy points. The 2 times against the Steelers are his low games where he still scored around 14 fantasy points. And it's just another game where if the Chiefs are somehow able to hold Winston, they can win this game. So it seems like they should be able to. With the luck they've been having, it's something incredible to watch. But man, I could also see the Browns just putting up 35 and the Chiefs trying to catch up, and I'm not quite sure they'll be able to do it. So very interesting there. And then, of course, coming off the bye, Drake May faces off against the Cardinals, quarterback 13. I mean, he's just such a good player. And then, of course, outside of Geno Smith, both Rodgers and Arnold put up 16-plus fantasy points against the Cardinals. So I think there's opportunity here. Also, his rushing floor helps. So I'm very interested to see how this game goes, but May continue to just surprise me. So, and feel like we're going to stick on theme. So who do you like, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, amazingly enough, potentially Bryce Young. Only 4.3% rostered. He's the QB 11 since their bye. It's only 3 weeks, so it sounds better when you say since their bye, if you don't know when their bye was, but it is only 3 weeks. Has looked better since getting benched and coming back and taking over this starting job. And he's giving you a rushing floor, so I'm always looking for stuff like that. And he's averaging. You just look at his last 4 games. 30, 20, 17, and 29 rushing yards, 7 attempts in yesterday's game. So, I think that's just part of his development and kind of just taking what the defense is giving him. And he has a really good schedule coming up. The Panthers do. They get the Cowboys, they get the Cardinals, and then they get the Bucks. So 3 pretty good teams I think that you can throw on. And if you're desperate, I don't mind it. This is more for deeper leagues. I definitely like the guys you're looking at there. There's some other guys, shallower ones, that are right around 50%, the Staffords and of the world, the Geno Smiths of the world, Aaron Rodgers, so obviously you're probably more comfortable taking those guys or Jameis or Drake May. But if you play in a league where it's a little bit harder to come by, I don't mind Bryce Young for even the fantasy playoffs. So he's playing well. So it's good to see.
Yeah, I like him over the now replacement quarterbacks for likely the Saints and the Raiders for sure. Like there's a couple of people that potentially were playing Carr or potentially was playing Aiden O'Connell / Gardner Minshew. Don't know who, but Bryce Young has really been playing well, and I've been super surprised with them deciding to give him the reins back after Dalton did his thing. And even with Thielen, it looks like him and Thielen really have a nice connection. And like he's just checking it everywhere because both Thielen is getting a high percentage of his targets on less snaps, but gets on the field more and is seeing decent targets when he's there. It's just very interesting how well he's playing. And then, of course, now they lost Brooks. So Hubbard's back and is going to be doing his thing. So, well, Steve, you have anybody else? Or we cover everybody for you?
You hit the main ones because we're talking about playoff contending teams. So I would assume at this point you have a quarterback, and if not, then I would definitely take one of those other options. If you are absolutely extremely super desperate, Drew Lock is out there and exists. He's currently QB 13 on the week, could be as low as 15 after tonight's game. We'll see. But also finished QB 21 last week. So solid QB 2 if you're in a super flex league. Got Baltimore in week 15 and then Atlanta and Indy in 16 and 17. So decent matchups. And it's not like they're scared. They threw the ball 49 times yesterday. So they're letting him rip it. He's getting the opportunities. But you got to be super desperate.
Yeah. Well, I thought for sure you'd go with the guy playing tonight potentially and Cooper Rush.
You could. It'll depend on what he does in tonight's game. The problem is he had a great matchup against Washington and finished as QB 10. He had a great matchup last week against the Giants and finished as QB 29. It looks good on paper the rest of the way for him, but it's just such a wild card. It's so hit or miss. There's no rushing floor at all. You're really hoping that he throws the ball a bunch, and you're really hoping that they're in a competitive game. So like tonight, yeah, he could finish as a top 10 QB today because they could be chasing the Bengals all game long. But like when they play Carolina next week, is that really going to be a shootout? I don't think so.
I don't know, man. Panthers just gave the Chiefs a run.
The Eagles. They gave the Eagles a run too.
Yeah. See? You never know. Bryce Young's turning into something.
They're playing competitive games, but they're not getting into track meets with anybody is the problem. Yeah. And that's really what you'd be looking for. So,
all right. Well, figured I'd throw that one out there just in case. See if I couldn't tempt you with it, but didn't take the bait.
You did your best.
So that in mind, moving to running backs. And it's just the same guys. Handcuffs. Yeah. Unless it's a 49er at this point, because you're 2 or 3 down the list, and who knows. But Tyler Algier still too widely available for people who roster Bijan. And then with Eckler out, it's Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez still widely available. Rodriguez actually got the bump ahead of McNichols this past week, surprisingly. So interesting to see how that works out. But those are the two. And then I figured I'd let you have the one that I really like. So go ahead and tell him, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him last week. Sincere McCormick. I think he was under 1% last week. He's over 11% now. He's looked good while running the ball, and it's intriguing to see the Raiders, who have nothing to play for really, except for next year and maybe getting that number 1 pick. Like, why not see what you have in this guy? Madison's not the future. Amir Abdullah is not the future. Both kind of older guys, especially Abdullah. Maybe Zamir White, but we saw what Zamir White was doing when he had the job for the first half of the season. It wasn't much. So McCormick's come in and he's looked good. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry, and he's kind of been the only Raiders running back to look good in this offense running the ball. So 5.2, 5.3, and 6.6. Obviously, small sample size, only 32 carries, but that's all we can base it off of right now.
Andy surpassed Abdullah this week in snaps. He played more snaps than him, and that's just another impressive feat for the young player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like they want to kind of just use Abdullah in his role, and that's it. And he dominated the early down stuff, obviously, the goal line, short yardage. Abdullah's going to take the third down stuff. So it's going to be tough to rely on him because he may be a little bit of a touchdown or bust kind of guy, just because you normally don't want to bank on those kind of guys when it's not a very good offense, especially with their third quarterback now. So, but you could definitely do worse. You can definitely do worse, and he's looked good. So don't mind. A lot of people are going to be rostering him as a bench guy. I think Bigsby is kind of, we talked about the handcuffs. You really don't count Bigsby as a handcuff anymore. Like he's kind of like they split snaps. It's a 1A, 1B situation. Bigsby had 18 carries. He scored a touchdown. So, it's kind of it's going to be hard to rely on again because it's a bad offense, and you're looking at the second running back or the 1B running back on a bad offense is not great. But again, they're giving him the ball a lot. If they keep it close, like they did against the Titans, then it's possible that you're going to get a game with 15, 18 carries like you just did. And then the Jets guys, what are we doing? Mentioned it on the waiver wire show in the Discord. Like, wouldn't be surprised if Isaiah Davis has a bigger role than we're all expecting. I think we all expected Braylon Allen 80%, and they kind of showed that last week that it wasn't quite going to be that. And then you just look at how even when they had Brees, they were still using Braylon Allen 25-30%. This was like a legitimate split, of Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. And I thought Davis was going to do more in the passing game. I think Braylon Allen had a few catches as well. But they basically 31 to 30 snaps. That's kind of what the split was. But Isaiah Davis got the goal line and the third down stuff. So he got the high value stuff. I think he's the way to go, right? It has to be.
You have to go with the guy who's getting the high value touches for sure. So not ideal.
Yeah. No, but at least Jets have. We were talking about like McCormick and Bigsby, and we're talking about probably not so functional offenses. At least the Jets can put something together with Rodgers and the receivers and stuff. Obviously, they've been a huge disappointment, but I obviously trust Rodgers and the Jets offense more than I do Mac Jones and the Jags or Ritter and the Raiders. So I don't mind Davis, and I think he's just overall like solid player too. So I would definitely be picking him up, and then everyone's going to be asking about San Francisco. What are we doing there? I know people are talking about Patrick Taylor because he came in, scored the touchdown. I don't know if he's just a special teams guy. He might be. He's been on the team all year though, so he knows the system. The best out of the guys there is Abanikanda. Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, I honestly think Gareno's going to play, but if he doesn't, you're probably going to roll out Taylor unless they just come out with news that Abanikanda's coming up and can figure out the offense well enough, because I think they would really want to see what they can get out of him as a younger player who was kind of, again, stifled on a Jets offense last, 3 years ago, it feels like. So seeing what they have and seeing if he's anything special, I wouldn't be surprised if that name gets floated out a little bit more this week, potentially next week. So might be somebody you stash, but I still think Gareno's going to be the one playing because he seems to think he's going to be fine. And it all precautionary, but that's from him. Thankfully, it's not Shanahan, but even then, I'm still iffy on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, but they have been showing this year, like they're kind of, the 40, why we were so going into the season kind of low on like Mason was like, well, the 49ers never really used one guy until McCaffrey. But now they have been, right? Like now they have been. So I'm
and it's worked out great for him, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, no.
The wear and tear has not affected him in any way, shape, or form. It's been fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And again, it's a short week, so I personally don't think Garendo plays, but they do need a win, obviously. So I don't know. Just don't. Basically, what it is, don't go and spend all your money on one of these guys, all your fab dollars, if you play that way, or even a top waiver priority. So,
yep. All right, Steve, you have anybody that we missed or you want to touch on?
Yeah, I got a couple deep cuts. We were talking about Taysom Hill, him going down, what that was going to do to that offense. Kendre Miller came back from injury. He had more rushes in this game than he's had the entire season to this point. 10 carries for 32 yards, one of which was a touchdown. So he got red zone looks. He did have some opportunities on the field, more of a handcuff and name to know than anything there. But just something to keep on the radar. We've talked about him several times over the years. Can he ever stay on the field? And if he does, he can do something with it. And then the other one, maybe forgotten because of the bye week, Jaleel McLaughlin. After we got off the air last week, he led the Broncos in rush attempts with 84 yards on 14 carries. They have the bye going into next week. They're playing Indy, then the Chargers in week 16, which you don't love, but then Cincinnati in the championship game. So if he were to continue to have that larger role in the Denver offense, then that would definitely be somebody worth having on your roster. He's been in flex territory the last 2 games, so worth rostering if you have the space.
All right. Both good options. I'll also just throw it out because, again, you're more looking at Dynasty, but Keaton Mitchell, I still think it's going to be something. Hill's been very serviceable, but Mitchell's been on IR for a majority of the year. I'm very curious to see if he starts getting any kind of work. Specifically, I would expect week 17, 18, when they're trying to rest their guys, I would expect to see some of him there. So in that off chance, might be somebody that you need later down the line. So into wide receivers, let's get out of running back. And shouldn't be any surprise. You talk about Bryce Young. I talked about his weapons already a little bit, but they really get 38.7%. And Adam Thielen, 43.4% rostered. Honestly, don't think it really matters at this point. Thielen looked really good. Kind of called it again because Leggett seems to be getting the major coverage. I'm going to be curious if that switches over to Thielen. But again, Thielen is also playing less snaps, but when he's out there, he's getting targeted at a higher rate. And so it's going to be very interesting. I think both can easily get you right around that 8 to 10 fantasy points. Thielen's probably going to be a little higher moving forward from 12 to 14, more than likely. And then we haven't heard anything yet, but Cedric Tillman, 47.2% rostered. Guessing a lot of people are frustrated that he's been in concussion protocol, or really, like everybody else, you had an issue where you had to drop somebody and he was out. So you might as well drop him to pick up, whether that was Charbonnet, whether that was whoever from this past week that you needed to pick up in order to win. But he is more than likely. We'll see about this week. I still think he has the potential to come back this week, but they said today he was in concussion protocol still. Don't love that, but we'll keep an eye on the reports. And the second he comes back, he's going to be another double-digit monster for you because him and Judy, they've kind of been missing Tillman. Moore isn't quite the same player. So, and Joki's been getting a bump because of it. And so really think there's a lot of opportunity there. But all right, Mike, who we got?
Yeah, not as great on the receiver front. I mean, Romeo Doubs is always someone I'm going to throw out there if you just kind of need a little bit of a desperation start. Again, guy, he plays, runs a lot of routes on a good offense, and I'll keep saying that. Elijah Moore, it kind of depends on Tillman. Seems like Tillman is going to be back, like you said, but if he doesn't, even though Moore didn't have a great game, I like, obviously I don't mind starting Elijah Moore with Jameis Winston, especially if Tillman's out. So he's
Moore
going to get
potentially missed a
targets.
touchdown, and that long play that if he had turned around at all or been prepared for the throw that was ended up being a pick, but either one of those two, and he gets another probably 20, not 20 yards and another catch. So you get another 3 points there, and it's more of a flex that you were looking at anyway. So, but yeah, sorry. Just want to make sure that people realize he is still being targeted, and it was just a tough matchup.
Yeah, definitely. Jalen McMillan, this is more deeper stuff, but Jalen McMillan caught a couple touchdowns, and they just kind of need another weapon there. Obviously they have their running backs, they have Mike Evans, but they never really found that consistent replacement for Godwin. And Kate Otten is a player, and he's going to do what he does, but like they need something at the receiver position, and hopefully it can be McMillan, who's interesting rookie. We saw him make some plays in the beginning of the year, but then yesterday 7 targets, 4 catches, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns. So will it become a thing? I don't know, but if you play in a deeper league, I don't mind the stash there, as well as Trey Tucker for the Raiders. Just a guy who it's tough now with Ritter, but he's getting targets. You just look at his last 5 games or so: 6, 4, 8, 1, and then 5. A couple of those games were decent production. Again, more of a deeper type of play. So, and then a guy I actually didn't write down, but what are we doing with Nick Westbrook-Akine, who finally didn't catch a touchdown? Are we just forgetting about him now? I mean, the guy was still a wide receiver 12 for like 8 weeks or something. Are we just moving on, or are we gonna throw him?
I'm still fine rolling him out there, but because again, like we touched on, Titans rest of the season is really nice. It's really hard to get away from that, especially for the wide receivers. It's just occasionally. Well, again, I think it's going to be more fun this week because Saints were Jaguars were an okay matchup, and now they're going to have to throw because it's going to be the Bengals next week. So opportunity should be there. Bengals secondary is trash, so we'll see. I think there's a lot of potential still. Definitely a name to keep on the radar for sure.
Yeah. And then, like we always talk about guys like, Demario Douglas and stuff like that, who finally didn't give you 10 points, but he's pretty widely available. Ray McLeod's an interesting one. I actually meant to write him
targets
down
yesterday.
Yeah, and it's not just like a one-time thing. Like he's had 6 targets in each of the last 3 weeks. Obviously, 11 yesterday. Back-to-back weeks with over 90 yards. So like he's starting to get some volume, and I don't know, kind of interesting there. I don't really know how to approach that, but it's a guy who's, again, like he's getting the targets, and Kirk Cousins is at least throwing for a lot of yards. He's not throwing for touchdowns, but he's throwing for yards. So he's another interesting one that I would potentially keep an eye on, especially if you get any type of a return yardage stuff, because he's big in the kick and I think punt returns as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, so Steve, did we miss anybody? Anybody you want to mention?
I will. Glitchy has a question about Chris Olave, who he has on his IR. At this point in the year, do you just drop Olave, especially with the injury to Carr?
Well, they think that Carr's potentially going to play.
Yeah, they said he's not an IR candidate, but he's not expected to start this week, I don't think.
No, they're not rolling him out.
They still plan on playing him this week?
Yeah. I saw it, and I'm just like, you guys are on crack. But I am not in the room. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I was extremely surprised about as the option for, oh, hey, could be the guy. So until something else pops up, man, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It really depends on what you need to, I guess.
Yeah.
If he's just clogging up your
Hey.
space, even if he comes back, Carr really didn't have that connection with him. So,
I mean,
yeah.
he's on IR, it sounds like, right? Like an IR spot. So I'm fine
Yeah.
with just leaving him there.
Well, unless he has like any other IR candidates that just popped up this past week.
Yeah.
It's like the
I just
only
figure-
thing that I touch on. So
Yeah, I mean, people getting put on IR now are not going to help you for fantasy, right? Because they have to miss 4 games. But we haven't heard anything about Olave, right? Like, is this? It was week 9 that he got the concussion. So is this the first week he's eligible? Or yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah, it should be. This should be the week that we start to hear things. That's why it's like everybody kind of assumed that it'd be they'd be week 16. I think is what the official word was, but
mhm.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And again, they don't really have anything to play for as well. So it might just be a situation where he's done. I don't know.
I mean, they haven't officially been eliminated yet.
During the bye phase, you hold B.
Right.
Are they? They're not official. Okay. So yeah,
I'm just throwing it out there. They're not officially eliminated
Yeah.
yet.
Panthers as well,
It's
right?
not bye phase
Panthers are
anymore.
still
technically,
they can win
something
it.
like that.
Yeah.
I
guess,
will
yeah.
throw out one.
Well, a lot of guys don't
Since the
have
2 of you will
an
not.
aiming
Josh
guy.
Palmer, just because
Yeah.
at least
But
8
whenever-
targets in 2 of his last 3 games. Can't ignore the volume. Got Tampa, Denver, New England coming up.
No, yeah,
So,
you're right.
I think McConkey being out obviously helped that a ton. So
No, yeah. I've
McConkey
heard
comes
that
back
twice.
healthy, then that could be an issue. But like I said, volume is king, and he can't stay out of the end zone forever, can he?
Well, again, I keep saying it because I feel like it's the case, but it really just feels like the Chargers offense hates him. And I'm not quite sure why. Granted, he looked good yesterday, but he had 2 potential big bombs that were overthrows, and I don't know if it's just due to them slightly mixing it up or him taking a bad route. It looked pretty good on the last one that should have been a touchdown, but I don't know. Him and Herbert just don't seem like they're on the same page this year, and that's never a good sign. So him getting in the end zone is it's more of a Johnston job at this point, it seems like, or Disley, but who knows? Now Disley banged up. Who knows?
Yeah, I was going to say that it also helped that Disley went out too, because that opened up even more opportunity for him to get involved.
Mhm. Yeah, and he was the one that was missed on that big touchdown, right?
Yeah.
So
Wide
that would've
open. 2 wide
Yeah.
open shots that he's like, if you just catch this, you're scoring,
been- Mhm.
and just overthrows.
Yeah.
And don't know if it's because he's too slow or, like I said, if he got held. The last one, it looked like he had Herbert went to the corner, would have had probably a better route for him, but he had to cut back, and that cutback just took enough off that he couldn't get to it. So,
Mhm.
all right.
I mean, where's Quentin Johnston and all? I mean, he's barely over 50%, so he's not a bad ad as well if he's out there in those shallower leagues.
Yep, same. He just didn't qualify on my list,
Yeah.
so that's why I brought up Palmer. I have him at like
He could- he could
16%, so
shoot. He
Mhm.
could shoot.
much more widely available. But either one, they'll get the volume.
Yep.
All right. Well, into everybody's favorite position. Like we said, tight end, Disley now injured. We'll see if it actually affects him for this week, but it is. And then, of course, randomly, Goddard put on IR. Like, I don't understand this, man. So Goddard put on IR. Grant Calcaterra, 2.9% rostered, widely available. This next game, Brown and Smith have tough matchups against that Steelers secondary. Calcaterra could easily come in and cut up the offense. Njoku, Gesicki, Andrews, and Likely all saw over 9 fantasy points in their matchups. So think there's an opportunity. And since, like I said, Goddard's going to be out, they also mentioned that they weren't happy with their passing. And so if they focus on that, more opportunities could definitely give him a boost. And then, yeah, they need to start figuring that stuff out now, because if they don't have all of it clicking when it comes time for playoffs, they will be in trouble. Because you need to be able to score and move the ball. And while they are very capable of doing so on the ground, being able to be a dual threat and not just a running team would be an ideal situation for them, because they do have great weapons that could easily pair up a lot of teams. So, All right, Mike, who you got?
Yeah, once again, Pat Fryermuth just barely under that 50%. 3 straight good weeks, so he's NBA Jam on fire. 4 for 59, 6 for 68, and a touchdown, and then 3 for 48 and a touchdown this last week. So he's more involved. We know he's a pretty solid, good tight end, above average tight end. So I'm fine with picking him up and rolling him out there, as well as someone that I kind of view in a similar light is Hunter Henry, who I just saw is at 47%, 48%, just because they were on a bye. And last time we saw Henry, 7 for 75, 5 for 44 before that, 6 for 63 before that. So I remember looking at Henry's stats. I think this was like 3 or 4 weeks into Drake May taking over. It was like Drake May had like 4 full games under his belt, and you like average it out over 17 games, and it was like really, really good. Like it was pushing on 1,000 yards and 80 catches and something. Like it was kind of crazy. So you just kind of look at his box score, Henry, that is, and he's been really, really good since, I forget when Drake May actually took over, but I want to say it was Texans. I guess I can check real quick, but just go back to his box score starting in like mid-October, and it's good for a tight end. So looks like Drake May. Oh yeah, against the Jets, right? It's when Drake. No, that's not when he took over. Against the Texans. So you just go back and look at that box score for Hunter Henry there since the Texans, and like I think there's only like one true bad game in there for a tight end. So yeah, he's definitely someone I would be targeting if someone dropped him.
All right. Steve, any last bits of knowledge you want to drop here?
No, Hunter Henry was mine. Just his last 3 games, at least 8 targets in each of those games. So, again, value.
You guys aren't going to mention the other half of that equation?
You're hoping he falls in the end zone. That's the problem. Hunter Henry would be a top 5 tight end if he was the one getting the 1 catch a game. Going to the other
but
guy.
Austin Hooper is the one doing it.
I know.
Little jerk.
That's the problem. It's a tight end vulture. It's like Noah Gray catching the touchdown when Travis Kelce does everything else. That's basically the same situation, except less flashy.
Also, Noah Gray.
Noah Gray's not. He's starting to become, a solid option now, right? So, can't ignore it. He's at least getting targets. Like you can almost guarantee he's going to get some targets. So, Hunter Henry since Drake May became
in 4 straight games. So,
nice.
Yeah. So Hunter Henry,
I don't like that.
Since Drake May took over, and Drake May missed a game in this stretch, by the way, but he's averaging 54 receiving yards per game, so just over 900 over a 17 game pace with about just over 5 catches a game, which would be almost 90 catches. So he's been really good with Drake May. So yeah, would definitely be picking him up. And sure, Austin Hooper in deeper leagues. Why not?
I'm just bringing it up. Topic of conversation. Try and keep things interesting. So, all right. And defenses. And again, really slim pickings. These games have been insane. I'm going to go back to the Commanders because they play the Saints, who've been struggling. And like we touched on, Carr fractured his non-dominant hand. It's not throwing hand, I guess. I don't know how they described it, but in any case, he's out, makes it even better. But even when he's in, this team's been kind of struggling and only been able to really move the ball by running effectively. Since Hill's been out, it was clearly a misstep this past week. And thankfully, Juwan Johnson got in the end zone to save our week. Also, a name you should know, just in case Carr does play, Juwan Johnson as a potential tight end streamer. But Commanders seem like a good matchup. The opportunity should be there. We'll see. Mike?
Yeah, I struggled with this one, to be honest. Like, it was hard to find someone. It's a little bit cheating, but I would assume, I don't know, maybe people drop the Chargers defense because the Chiefs still have like that. I don't know if they still do, but they have that name value. Like, oh, I can't start anyone against the Chiefs, and so I still like the Chargers. They are over that 50% threshold that we like to use. They're playing the Bucs, so pretty good team, but the Chargers are a good defense, so they can keep the game close. But man, like, I don't want to take Steve's and I'll let him do that. But I was ready to write the Commanders down, and then I saw that you had it. So yeah, it's tough this week for defenses. I mean, the Browns isn't bad. They're playing the Chiefs. I don't think they're a great defense, but I think they can keep that game close. Who knows? Maybe we get a weather game there. Where's that at? Cleveland or?
Yeah, it's in Cleveland.
In Cleveland, so who knows what the weather's going to be like, and Chiefs just don't blow anyone out as we see. So, but and then I think we came on that Jacksonville had a really good schedule to end the year. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious how the anyone against the Titans worked out last week. I'm sure it was pretty good.
They are currently defense number 7 on the week. Anybody against the Titans every week.
Well, aren't the Titans also?
Titans are 6.
Okay, just making sure, because
that game was complete garbage, as predicted.
You yelled at me.
You look at a game and you're like, "There's no way that game can be good," and you're 100% right. Because that's just it. There is a science to it. But yeah, this week the lucky winner is the Cincinnati Bengals in the anybody against the Titans sweepstakes.
So bad,
man.
They were defense number 11 last week against Pittsburgh. They are of course playing Dallas right now, and they get the Titans, who ail all bad things that happens with your defense.
I was ready to no, you can't just do this. Jacksonville, worst their defense, and then
Jacksonville's 32 on the season. They're the worst fantasy defense in the league, and they are currently number 7 on the week. Yeah, anybody versus the Titans. It's that simple, folks. It's just that easy. Will Levis, give him that Mayo MVP. He's done it.
Just like you.
Yeah.
See, I made you sound even better because I actually said the Titans, and they're just one spot ahead of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But again, it's getting down to a difficult time for streaming defenses. You might need to start looking ahead. We talked about it on last Wednesday show. Cardinals have a really good couple matchups. Through the playoffs. We talked, way long ago, Broncos, Chargers, these are all teams that we've been talking about just due to matchups. And so very interesting to see how it works out. But any case, let everybody go watch these games. Again, like I mentioned, this is the last real regular-ish week. I think it's a little odd because I think Monday they actually have 2 games, maybe. Or is that, yeah.
Yep.
So that's the one oddity, and it gets worse because then it starts rolling. We'll be in big trouble. All right, let's get out of here. Go enjoy the game.
We'll be back. Is the Simpsons Funcast on ESPN Plus too, if that sort of thing interests you. So. They're simulcasting the game, but with Simpson graphics.
No.
Perfect.
I don't know yet.
Check that out.
Myself.
That'll make it entertaining for you.
If you
eases some of the pain of watching this.
Oh, we got a touchdown.
Nice.
So,
well, and again, a potential streamer, Falcons, because now they're going to be rolling out Ritter. Sorry, I just thought of another team. I was like, oh, yeah.
No, that's fair.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
you could also say the anybody against the Jags right now is a good one. anybody against the Giants.
No, it was
a pretty
amazing.
strong one. It's ugly out there right now.
I said you hurt my ear.
Yeah, I think both those defenses were. Ravens are against the Giants, and then who is against the Jags?
Jets.
It is. Yeah, Jets are probably rostered as well.
So, all right. Any case, good luck. Hopefully you made your playoffs. If not, I hope whatever you need tonight to get in to make your playoffs happens. Theoretically, one more team could be eliminated officially tonight. We will see. But if you haven't, like and subscribe, and we will be back Wednesday. Neil and I will be talking all the nonsense and covering anything you want us to. So that in mind, have a good week. And remember, as always, to keep up the nonsense.